All right, let's get to it. We got to talk this mayoral race, man, that's popping off in New York, man. So let me start by saying this. I ain't got no dog in the fight. I don't live in New York, man. I live in Michigan. But, after checking out the Trump interview, man, and, I'm seeing these statements, Trump calling, Mamdani a communist and talking about if he wins, man, it'll be hard for him to send funding to New York and, all that stuff. And, even though he talked about Andrew Cuomo not being his best of choices, he's like, man, I'd rather have him than Mamdani. So it made me, as someone on the outside looking in, I wanted to know, like, who is Orion, man? You know what I'm saying? Who is Mamdani? Like, he's leading in the polls, so evidently he's got some kind of personality, charisma, believability to the people that he's leading the polls. But I'm hearing that Cuomo, however you pronounce it, is starting to close the gap. So let's take a look at him. So I'm going to give you a categorized breakdown of each individual in their, like their party affiliation. Mamdani is a Democrat, progressive wing. Andrew is an independent, former Democrat. The political style, Mamdani is grassroots, activist, democratic socialist. And Cuomo is an executive, a centrist, and an establishment type of guy. Some of their key endorsements, Mamdani had the AOC, he had Bernie Sanders and Governor Hochul, and then, Cuomo had Eric Adams, the Orthodox Jewish leaders, and Donald Trump reluctantly. Some of the core policies that they stand behind is Mamdani is looking at free public transit, universal child care, and he's also looking for housing justice. He wants to keep a cap on this rent and everything, because we all know New York is out of control. People, they charging whatever they want, man. They small apartments, they talking about 10 bands, stuff like that, which is crazy. So, and then you got Cuomo is, he's talking about public safety, infrastructure, moderate reforms. You know what I'm saying? Then, you talk about some of the strengths. Mamdani, he's got the youth support. He's got the viral digital campaigns going on, and he's got the progressive momentum behind him. But, Andrew has the experience, the name recognition, and the centrist appeal. So they two different sides of the spectrum, most definitely. When you talk about weaknesses, Mamdani has perceived radicalism and controversial associations, where Andrew has past scandals, Trump endorsements, and that sort of backlash, that's following him. When you look at their campaign trails and you dig into one, like a notable quote from him, Mamdani says, "Congratulations, Andrew Cuomo. I know how hard you worked for this." Pun intended, I believe. You know what I'm saying? And then Cuomo comes back with, the adult in the room, New York needs stability. Basically calling Mamdani wet behind the ears, youngster, kid in the room, that sort of thing. With the polling trend, Mamdani leads by like 4 to 15 points in most polls, but Andrew is gaining ground, especially among the moderates. The federal reaction to both of their running campaigns, Trump threatened to withhold funds if Mamdani wins, and Trump called Cuomo a lesser of the two evils, and he'd have to deal with it. The campaign styles, Mamdani is online first. He's meme savvy, grassroots rallies, things of that nature. Cuomo is traditional media, union outreach, and town halls. So now, when we talk about strengths and weaknesses of the two, some of the strong points for Mamdani, after I did a little bit of research, is, he runs a progressive platform. He advocates for, stuff like the free public transit, the universal child care, and the housing affordability. And that's resonating with the younger and the working class voters, because, let's admit it, man, it's hard out here on everybody. You know what I'm saying? Some of his other strong points is his digital campaigning. We're in an era of social media. We're in an era of a digital footprint. You know what I'm saying? Just like right now, you guys are watching this on some sort of social media platform, getting this information from me. So we're in that age, and if you're not in that age, you're definitely father timing it. You're behind the eight ball. You know what I'm saying? You're definitely behind the times if you're not digital campaigning it. And he's built a massive online following with sharp, witty posts and viral videos, especially among the Gen Z and the millennials. You know what I'm saying? He's targeting that younger demographic where he needs to be. Um, he's got the grassroots momentum popping. He won the Democratic primary against Como, signaling that he has strong support from the party's left wing out the gate. You know what I'm saying? His endorsements, he had like Alexandria Cortez, he had Bernie Sanders, he had Governor Kathy Hochul. They were all backing him. They were behind him. Those are some of his strong points from what I've seen. Okay, now some of the weak points for him. He's got the perceived, extremism. He's labeled a communist by President Trump, who threatened not to fund him. You know what I'm saying? He has controversial associations. He faced backlash for appearing with the streamer Hassan Piker, who once said America deserved 9/11. Mamdani, he had disavowed that comment, but the critics they went in on it. You know what I'm saying? They didn't let it go. And then he's got the moderate Democrat resistance. Some party leaders were slow to endorse him, reflecting that they had discomfort with his far left stance. So it's kind of like, we'll be coming around the mountain when we come type attitude, where I think some may have felt they really didn't have a choice but to get on board, you know what I'm saying, or get left behind. So now, we move on to Andrew Cuomo, who's the independent candidate, and some of his stronger points is, he has executive experience. He's a former 3-term governor of New York. He touts crisis management skills and deep knowledge of the city governance, which, you really can't say he doesn't have the experience and the knowledge because he's been a 3-term governor of New York. So, if I'm looking at the latter of the two, for me, it would be Mamdani because, he's new, but if you want those fresh baked cookie ideas, then you're going to go with the lesser of the experience. You're going to try new ideas and new thought process through a younger individual. But back to Cuomo, he has the centrist appeal. He positions himself as a stabilizing force, appealing to moderate Democrats, the Orthodox Jewish voters and the older New Yorkers. So you got those people that's kind of like they've been around, they've been there forever. They want the stability. They want an understanding of knowing exactly who they have in front of them. And sometimes, that's a good thing, but sometimes it's not, depending on how the world is shifting. He has high-profile endorsements as well. He received support from the former mayor Eric Adams, and even President Trump. Like I said, who called him the lesser of two evils. But compared to Mamdani, Trump would rather deal with Andrew all day. You know what I mean? Now, some of his weak points. He has some past scandals. He resigned in 2021 amid sexual harassment allegations, which still shadows his campaign, undoubtedly. You know what I'm saying? The Trump endorsement fallout, excuse me, while Trump's maybe, backing him, it alienates many New York City Democrats from him because Trump would rather have him than Mamdani. So I think it's sending a signal like, will he be in Trump's pocket or something if he gets elected? Another weak point for him is the late entry and his funding gaps. He entered the race as an independent after losing the primary, and he trails in the campaign with cash on hand. You know what I'm saying? So when we look at the overview of the election, Mamdani leads by 4 to 15 points, depending on the poll. But again, Como is closing the gap. The turnout surges. They've had over 735,000 early votes cast, which is a record, suggesting that it's going to be a high engagement, especially among the young voters. The third candidate, because there is a third candidate, they have Curtis Sliwa, who remains in the race but is polling far behind, with Trump urging the GOP voters to back Como instead. So that's just a brief recap, man, of me diving into the New York politics and what's going on, man, so I can understand a little bit better and you can understand a little bit better. But anyway, this is the recap with your man KU. Hope you like, subscribe, and definitely comment down below, man. I'd like to know how you guys feel. I mean, you know how I feel. I'd like to know how you feel. This is the recap. I'm signing off.
This is the recap with KU.